Hello, beautiful homemakers. We're continuing with Secrets of Fascinating Womanhood, Chapter 8, Secret Number 5, Inner Serenity. On Friday evening at 8:30 p.m., Angela ordered her children, David and Tiffany, off to bed and then drove around to her mother's house and borrowed her lawnmower. As she was driving back home, unknown to her, Ted phoned her at her house. Tiffany took the call and chatted to her father until her mother came home. Angela arrived home a few minutes later and parked her car in the driveway. As she struggled to lift the heavy mower out of the car boot, she had great difficulty and lost her temper with it. When she finally walked into the house, she saw David still lying on the floor watching TV. Angela exploded. "David!" she yelled. "I told you to turn that thing off and go to bed. Why can't you do as you're told? Turn it off now." "Tiffany was watching too," said David sullenly, getting up to switch it off. Angela saw Tiffany sitting at the dining room table, hanging up the telephone. "And who do you think you're ringing this time of night, girl?" she demanded. "That was Dad," said Tiffany. "He's just bought himself a cell phone and was wanting to speak to you, but he heard you screaming at David and said goodbye and hung up." Angela was horrified. Ted had often complained about her bad temper and harsh voice. "Did he say anything else?" "Yes. He said, 'Oh no, she hasn't changed a bit.' Well, if you kids would only do as you're told, I wouldn't have to lose my temper. Your father complains about me screaming at you, and it's all your fault. Now get off to bed, both of you." Angela felt utterly miserable as she prepared for bed. She wanted to phone Ted and explain, but did not have his new cell phone number. She would have to wait until Monday and phone him at work. She felt depressed all weekend. Perhaps all her efforts so far had been undone in those few angry seconds. She shared her feelings with Amy at church on Sunday. "You can't blame the children, Angie," said Amy. "It's your bad temper that's the problem, not them. Men don't mind if we quietly lose our temper for a good reason, but they can't stand hearing us use an angry voice or yelling. It's just not feminine. It's too masculine. Men want us to be much better than them. They want us to be refined and cheerful and gentle and feminine. Now, whatever you do, don't make excuses to Ted. Don't blame the children. Just apologize humbly." On Monday morning, before leaving for work, Angela sent Tiffany out to wait in the car. David had already left for school on his bike. She then phoned Ted, hoping he was already at work. "Good morning, Jardin's Auto Services." It was Ted's voice. "Mrs. Jardin here," said Angela brightly, trying not to sound nervous. "Oh, hi, Angie," said Ted. He sounded cheerful. "I rang to say I'm sorry, Ted, for yelling the other night when you rang. I know I've got a bad temper, and I'm going to learn to keep it under control." "That's all right, Angie. I'm glad you're trying. I've been reading your 2 letters. They make me feel, well, sort of—" Angela couldn't be certain, but it sounded as if Ted was fighting back tears. His voice became emotional. "When I rang you Friday night, I really felt my old love for you, Angie, and I wanted to tell you, but when I heard those angry words, well, my love just seemed to shrivel up again." Ted's voice broke. Angela could hear him sniffling. "He's weeping," she thought. "Oh, Ted, I love you. I'm sorry. I really am. I promised you I would be a wonderful wife, and I will if you'll let me." "Angie, it's got to be different if I come back. There's been too many hurts." Ted's voice sounded more composed now. "Tell me what you want, Ted. Tell me what upsets you. I won't be offended. Honest, I won't. Please, tell me." "Well, it's mostly your grouchy mouth. You really want me to be honest? Okay, I will. So many things you say hurt, Angie. You don't seem to realize how much they hurt. And when I hear you yelling angry words, well, my love just shrivels up inside. What else, Ted? Please tell me. Well, there's your smoking. I don't know why you have to smoke. It pongs the house out. It's not a good example for David and Tiff. And those black trousers you wear all the time. I mean, Amy came in last week and she looked great. Angela was hurting, but was determined to keep going. This was the first time Ted had opened up to her since courting days. I agree, Ted. Please, let me know everything. Well, there's your hair. I love it long and shiny, and now it's short and frizzy like a man's. You know I like it long. And you've let yourself get a bit flabby, you know. Fat rolls don't look very sexy. Is there anything else? Asked Angela, desperately hoping there wouldn't be. I've given up smoking, and I've started my running again. No, there's nothing else that really bothers me. I mean, I'm not perfect, I know that. It's just your mouth, mostly. The way you criticize everybody and shout and moan about things. I hate coming home from work when you're in one of your grouchy moods. And you could show a bit of appreciation for me now and then. I've worked hard for you and the kids over the years, and now I've got my own business. I felt good the other night when you said you liked my van, and that's the first time in years I can remember you saying something nice about me. And your letters are nice, Angie. They even brought tears to my eyes. I don't mind admitting that. Look, I've got a customer coming. I'd better go. Okay, Ted. Goodbye. Angela walked out of the house, stunned, hurt, and somehow elated all at once. Knowing the problem is half the solution, she thought. Well, now she knew the problem, or rather the problems. And her notes had made Ted cry. She hadn't known Ted to cry in years. She suddenly felt an exuberant thrill of excitement run up her spine. Angela left early on Wednesday evening to drive to her fascinating womanhood class. She parked and was walking toward the building when an expensive-looking car pulled up at the curb. The driver, a slender, well-dressed, silver-haired man of about 65, got out, walked around, and opened the passenger door. The fascinating womanhood teacher stepped out. "Bye, sweetheart," she heard the man say to the teacher, as he put his arm around her shoulder and kissed her on the cheek. Angela felt warm inside. How beautiful, she thought. Her eyes met those of her teacher. "Hello, Angela," said her teacher, smiling. "Meet my husband, Milton. Milton, this is one of my students, Angela." "Nice to meet you, Angela," said Milton. He shook her hand and smiled warmly at her. Angela felt herself blush. The class started on time as usual. All the women appeared to Angela to be in good spirits tonight. Bev especially so. When the teacher asked who wanted to share an experience, half the class raised their hands. "Helena, you look especially happy tonight. Let's hear your experience." Helena, a true experience. "Sunday after church, my husband and I read the scriptures about the man's role together and talked about what they meant. This was the first time we had read the Bible together. Then that evening after dinner, the children and I presented him with a rod of authority which we had all made most enthusiastically. We told him just what it meant for each of us. He was overwhelmed and overjoyed, and said, 'I will try to be a good leader.' All evening he sat there with it in his hand. Several times he had said what a wonderful thing we had done." "Very good, Helena. What an excellent idea. I like it." This prompted Angela with an idea. She would suggest to David that he make a king's scepter in his school woodwork class. Then they would all present it to Ted and tell him he's their king. "Kathy, you look especially happy tonight, too. Come and share your experience." Kathy, a true experience. This week was my husband's birthday, so I fixed up a letter of leadership, and he was very pleased with it. He has shown everyone, even his boss. His boss asked his wife why she didn't do things like I did, so she called me and asked me to stop by as she was getting into trouble with her husband. My husband really likes the certificate and brags about it. It has made him feel more like a man, and I feel more like a woman who is loved, and I feel more feminine. Thank you, Kathy. Yes, most women don't realize how powerful these fascinating womanhood secrets are until they put them into practice. Men are so different from us women. Now, the first 4 secrets we've learned so far teach us how to meet our husband's masculine needs. Neglecting just one of these 4 important secrets can cause our marriage to fail. Millions and millions of marriages all over the world fail because women don't know these laws. Nearly all these broken marriages could be saved and made happy again. Even after years of divorce, it happens. I've seen it happen. Please live these 4 secrets, class. Even if you don't live the other 6, please at least live the first 4 and let other women know about them. It might seem as though we do a lot of giving in Fascinating Womanhood, but the rewards are rich. We are rewarded many, many times over. It's like planting a seed. We can plant just one tiny apple seed and are soon rewarded with bucketfuls and bucketfuls of apples year after year after year. That's what Fascinating Womanhood is like. The next 6 secrets teach us how to become more lovable and highly fascinating to men. Tonight, we learn secret number 5. Secret number 5 is like secret number 1. It lays the foundation for all the secrets that follow. It is the most important of the 6 remaining secrets. This secret teaches us how to create within ourselves 2 spiritual qualities that men deeply admire in women. All great women who have inspired men to noble deeds over the centuries have had these 2 qualities. Mumtaz, whom you remember we spoke about in secret number 1, had these qualities. Queen Victoria of England also had these qualities. Her husband, Prince Albert, died when she was only 42, leaving her with 9 children. However, because of these 2 qualities in her character, this warm-hearted and lively woman rose above this setback and so inspired the good men around her that the British Empire reached its largest expansion and greatest height of power under her reign. When you possess these 2 qualities and live all the other laws of FW, the love and devotion of your husband will know no bounds. He'll even worship you. Without these 2 qualities, we severely limit the depth of our love our husband is able to give us, even if we keep all the other secrets of Fascinating Womanhood. Here is the secret. The teacher turned and wrote on the board, Secret number 5. Men deeply admire inner serenity and goodness in their wives. You must be joking, laughed Bev. Me be serene and good? Do you know what my husband calls me? The Grouch. Most of the class laughed. Angela didn't. Ted had sometimes called her a grouch also. We do tend to live up to our labels, said the teacher. Sometimes these labels are attached to us from childhood, but we can peel them off and change ourselves using this secret number 5, if we want to strongly enough. Now, the 2 qualities we have been speaking about that we must develop if we want our husband to love us deeply are inner serenity and goodness. Men joke about their wives being their better half. This is based on the truth that men sincerely want us to be just that. Men expect us to be better than them, to be more cheerful, to be kinder, more forgiving, more caring, more spiritual. They also like us to have a mysterious serenity about us. They find it fascinating. That's why the Mona Lisa painting stirs so many men's hearts, but not many women's hearts. No man can deeply love a sullen, resentful woman, nor a promiscuous one, nor a noisy, argumentative one who is always yelling at the kids. No man can be happy with such a woman. Angela felt uncomfortable. But a cheerful, serene wife, one who is good and noble in her personality, is highly attractive to a man. She meets a deep need for virtue and wholesomeness in his life. He needs such a wife to create the peaceful and feminine home atmosphere so necessary to renew his spirit. He wants such a woman as this to be the mother of his children, and children need a mother like this if they are to develop into warm, caring adults. We can be so disappointing to our husband when we lower our standards. Sometimes our husband will even test us, just to reassure himself that we're as good as we seem. Men like to put us on a pedestal. The teacher turned and underlined the word serenity on the board. How do we become serene? Elsie raised her hand. Yes, Elsie? It comes from within us. Yes, Elsie is right. Serenity does come from within us. It's the end result of goodness. Serenity and goodness go hand in hand. We cannot have serenity unless we have a clear conscience. We are going to learn tonight how to create a serene spirit within us. We are going to learn how to become more pure, more sweet-natured. The kind of woman that inspires and uplifts a man. A woman he can respect and cherish and even adore. You mean you're going to perform a miracle, said Bev. Fascinating Womanhood is full of miracles, smiled the teacher. First, let's understand what causes us to lose our serenity. Most of us had serenity as little children growing up. That's what made us so delightful to our fathers. Why then do we tend to lose this as we get older? Anybody? Elsie spoke. I think as we grow up, we lose our childlike humility. When we stop listening to our conscience and start doing wrong things. Bev added, we lose respect for ourselves by not being able to control our weaknesses like overeating. Angela said, we give in to anger and yell at our parents as teenagers. At least I did to my mom. Yes, all good answers, class. So we lose our serenity by doing things that our conscience tells us are wrong, especially during our teenage years. We tell lies, we steal, we criticize, we gossip, or we become jealous or tell tales, and so on. All these things destroy our goodness, and of course, our serenity. We are breaking the laws of God when we do such things, said Marina softly. Yes, very true, Marina. The laws of God are based on love, on unconditional love. When we can love all people unconditionally, even at the expense of our own comfort, we are on the path to inner serenity. I believe that unconditional love for other people is the main lesson we are here on earth to learn. A religious lawyer once asked Jesus Christ, what is the greatest commandment? And Jesus gave him a clear answer. Can you remember what that answer was, Marina? Marina smiled. Yes, I think I can, teacher. Jesus said, you shall love the Lord your God with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment, and the second is like unto it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law. The teacher beamed. Very well done, Marina. You have an excellent memory. Tell us, what happened next? Okay, darling. Then the lawyer asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? To answer this, Jesus told the parable of the Good Samaritan. This is the story about how a Samaritan man, when out traveling in the countryside, came across a stranger lying injured on the ground. He had been badly beaten and left for dead by robbers, so he stopped and treated the man's wounds. Then he put the man on his own donkey and took him to an inn and looked after him all night. And the next day he gave the innkeeper 2 days' wages to look after the man, and promised the innkeeper more money if needed when he returned. Marina, thank you. You explained that so well. Yes, the parable of the Good Samaritan illustrates the kind of unconditional love that God wants us to have for each other, and especially for our husbands. This is why I run these fascinating womanhood courses. They give me real joy. Okay, darlings, as Marina would say, I'm going to end the video here and begin a new one. Bye!